Hey everybody, I'm Steve Moore.
And I'm Mark Castleman.
We know the pain and heartbreak of porn and sex addiction.
And we know the triumph of breaking completely free.
Every day, we help our clients find hope and healing.
Join us in the fight to take back your life, your marriage, and be stronger than ever.
This is the PBSC Squared podcast.
Hey everybody, Mark and Steve on the PBSC podcast. This is episode 261. And we are recording this right after the first of the year. Although this topic, we can assure you, is an evergreen topic that you can embrace at any time.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. Evergreen topic.
Evergreen topic. And we're kind of saying, make this your year of honesty.
Yeah.
The reason we say that, we had a submission come in from a betrayed partner. And it was so, Steve, how many times have we heard this in the 20 plus years we've each been doing this? We have so many betrayed partners where, of course, the pain of betrayal is immense, excruciating. Right? The pornography, the affairs, the emotional affairs, the strip clubs, it goes on and on and on. And that whole betrayal is crushing beyond description. Having said that, with that reality existing, we also have partners come to us and say, and they're different, but many, actually more in the beginning of my career than I ever thought I would hear, many have said, as painful, Mark, as that all is, all the betrayal, what is even harder for me is that he will not be honest. He does not tell the truth. He's not transparent. He's not forthcoming. Stuff only comes out if I press it, if I ask questions, if I play detective. He just won't be honest and transparent. He won't be intimate. He won't let me see into him. And that's the part that I think that is going to finally end this relationship, because I refuse to be married or in a relationship with a man that's like that. I need honesty. And when we'll tell you, you can't be intimate without honesty. There's no intimacy without honesty. They're synonymous, right? And so she submitted this question to us and talked about the fact that, Discovery Day happened, all the betrayal came out. This has been going on in their marriage for 20 years. They even separated for a few years and then came back together. He's got a CSAT therapist. He's going to 12-step groups. A lot of good stuff is happening from what she describes for him. And yet, he still is not honest in their relationship. She says he's still engaging in sexual materials. They're not as severe as the old ones used to be. But what still keeps shouting out at her is that he keeps lying. Secrecy, she says, I feel like the lying and secrecy will never end. She says, I'm doing everything on my side of the street. I'm trying to become healthy. I'm trying to heal. I support him in every way I possibly can, but he's not making the progress he should, because I feel like, as I said, the lying and secrecy will never end. It's not a matter of how much more I can put it. It's more a matter of this nightmare will never end unless I decide to walk away. So this marriage is on the knife's edge. It's about to crumble because this guy, for whatever reasons, and we're going to talk about some of those, refuses to develop the skills, the willingness, and to start to become an honest, transparent, authentic man. And he's about to lose it all because of that unwillingness. So, as Steve, as you and I are preparing for this, I'm kind of the old Rocky movies. I like the old Rocky movies. And our listeners are most of them are probably familiar with it, but there's the original Rocky movies, number 3. And it's where Rocky did finally win the title from Apollo Creed in Rocky 2. And now Rocky's going up against this crazy, insane fighter named Clubber Lang. I think of Mike Tyson in his prime. It's kind of Clubber Lang. And
Mm.
Rocky goes into a fight with this guy, and Rocky gets creamed. I mean, he just gets laid out on the canvas. And so the movie shows everything Rocky goes through. His manager dies, actually has a heart attack after the match. And now Apollo Creed, the guy he beat at the second Rocky, Apollo Creed comes out of retirement and says he wants to train Rocky. So Apollo Creed comes out of retirement and says, Rocky, I want to train you so that you can go back and fight this Clubber Lang guy and beat him, win. So Rocky goes to Apollo Creed's old training gym in the ghetto in the basement, and Rocky's just not into the training. He's moping around. He's not enthusiastic. And finally, they're on the beach, and they're supposed to be doing sprints, and Rocky's heart's not into it, and his wife confronts him. This little 5'2" Talia Shire in the movie. And she looks up at him and she says, what's up with you? Why isn't your heart into this? And he comes up with all these excuses that aren't the truth. He's like, well, I don't want to lose what we got, right? What if I lose the fight? And she says, well, what do we got? We got cars, we got mansions, we got fancy clothes, we got everything but the truth. And then she says, what's the truth, damn it? This little tiny gal, she finally is speaking, she finally speaks up. And finally she breaks him and he says, you want the truth? You want to hear me say it? I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
Mm.
He's scared to death of getting the crap beat out of him again. But finally, after all the stuff he goes through to hide the truth, he finally becomes honest and tells her what's really going on. And that's what I thought of as we got this submission from this betrayed partner. She's like, why won't my husband just tell the truth? Steve, why everyone has, many people have trouble with being absolutely honest at all costs, as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
This is super hard for addicts, and especially for sex addicts, porn addicts. Why is it so hard for us to learn to just be honest, to just be transparent, to just say what is? Why do we struggle with that so much? Why is this guy about to lose his entire marriage and family because he won't be honest? What is that?
It's a great question. And I can only speak to my own experience, right? And that of my clients. I mean, if I look at myself first, I think it's always healthy. For me, it would be what I call complicated pride.
Complicated pride. Ooh, you need to say more about that.
So for me, there was a part of it that was, I have to be right. And the reason why I say it's complicated is because underneath that was the feeling of I have to be right.
I mean, that's a pretty strong, so I have to be right.
I have to be right. I have screwed up so much and I've sacrificed so much that if I'm wrong on the back of being wrong about everything else, then what does that mean? What does that mean about me? Because this is one of the few things, and this may sound crazy to anybody but an addict, but this is one of the few things that I can place any sort of distorted sense of value or self-worth in.
That you can be right.
Yes. If I am off about this, right? And not only am I wrong about everything, but then what are the implications of being wrong in this area? Now I really am just worthless now.
When you say this area, you mean in any moment where you need to be right. But I need to be right about this, whatever that is in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, in this context, it would be well. I'm applying it to the submission, right? In this context of if I am wrong about my approach, for example, about opening up and being transparent, or the other piece that she mentions in her submission about the significance of my addiction, right? And how much it's actually hurting her or affecting my marriage or affecting me. that combined with all my already pre-existing complete lack of self-worth and overwhelming shame that I was carrying, it felt like it would just be the thing to push me over the edge
Mm.
into whatever abyss lies on the other side.
Yeah, you've screwed up, messed up. Everything is in such a shambles. You got to hold on to this thing.
Yes, like I have to,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I'll tell you, for me, as we started this podcast, I said, Steve, I could talk about this in my sleep, because honesty was a huge issue for me for most of my life. I learned as a kid the way to stay safe is to lie. Now, people are going to listen to this. Whoa, Mark, what are you talking about? Because I learned that if I did dare to be transparent and just speak my mind, say the truth, that it turned out really bad, right? If I owned up to having done something wrong, I'd get the crap beat out of me with a belt. So you learn real quick. Whoa, okay, telling the truth doesn't work out so good.
Mm,
So I learned to be really good at half truths, um, disclosing only partial information, embellishing to make things look better than they were or not as bad as they were. I just learned, in order to stay safe, you no way were just a totally honest person. That wasn't safe. The other thing I learned was, if I let people see me for who I am with no filters, masks, pretenses, embellishing, or anything else, if they just see me, the raw me, they will never accept that Mark.
yeah.
He screwed up. He's an idiot. He's a failure. He says stupid stuff. They will never accept the real Mark, the real raw, authentic Mark. So therefore, I must portray myself as something else. So I learned to wear masks. I learned to put on acts. I learned to get along to go along to get along. I learned to, tell fancy stories about myself that would impress people so they would like me and be pleased with me, and I would be okay. So you take those two things, telling the truth isn't safe, and in order to be accepted, loved, and wanted by others, you have to put on a completely fake persona. Now take all that and move me into addiction and people wanting me to tell the truth about what I'm doing secretly behind doors with pornography and sex.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of comes back to what we sometimes talk about on the podcast. And when we know that it's hard for those listening to this who, again, it's if you're an addict, you more than likely get it, at least in this specific demographic of addiction. If you're a partner or anyone associated with an addict, it can be hard to grapple with. We share all the time on here. We both would have rather died than have this stuff exposed.
Yeah, what was our saying? I'm taking this to the grave.
Yeah, I mean, this is it struck for me, and I know our stories are similar, a little bit different in this way, but I mean, I couldn't, again, it wasn't just the embarrassment or the shame of this coming to light or being known. It was also that reality of what it represents on the back of, again, already that pre-existing, just complete lack of self-worth.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Those two, it's like the ultimate 1-2 punch. You were talking about the Rocky movies a minute ago, right? It's like the ultimate 1-2 knockout. It's like already I'm just hanging on by a thread as far as like having a purpose goes.
Yeah, I'm
And then
already a
now I'm off
screw up.
on this. It's
I'm a
like, well, that's
screw up
it
in
then.
Yeah, I'm a screw up in 50 ways. And now you're going to add this one?
That's it. I mean, that what else do like literally the feeling was if this isn't here and I don't even have this to offer, what do I have?
Right.
Like, I don't feel like I
Yeah.
have anything. That's how you
Yeah.
feel when you're in that place.
So you hold on to it for dear life. And
Yes.
so what are the half truths, the gaslighting, the secrecy, right? What's it all about? Those
Mhm.
are symptoms, but what is at the core? The core is my own insecurity, my
Yes.
own complete lack of sense of positive worth, my
Absolutely.
fears of what people will think if I show myself to them, right? It's fear, doubt, insecurity. It's all of those deep core issues. And how do they manifest? It's my survival brain trying to stay safe,
Yeah.
trying to avoid pain, trying to do damage control. of how people see me, or one more screw up that's going to throw it all over the edge.
Yeah.
Right? Think of it. What I'm describing is very survival. I would
Yes.
have to say that me lying was like breathing. I
Yeah.
have to keep breathing. I have to keep eating. I have to keep lying.
Yes. Well, and so what we're really saying here, guys, is that it's this combination of that level of rejection of self or loss of the marriage, right? Again, on the back of the fact that we are so highly codependent on the
Mhm.
validation, uh, support, and grounding that others, specifically our partners, provide.
Yes.
More often than not, in very unhealthy ways, because we've manipulated or forced or pressured our partners into that place that we truly are we're parasitic on it. We are.
Well,
It's like the parasite losing its host,
and I was
right? I
terrified.
mean,
If I tell my wife the whole truth, I will lose her.
yeah. Oh yeah, for
I will
sure.
lose her.
Well, and why
It's
do we think that? If I was married to me, I'd divorce me.
absolutely right.
I can't stand myself,
Yeah.
right?
But
How could I envision how they could?
I lie because I can't lose her.
Yes.
And what was I doing in the very act of that? Losing her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the irony of the whole thing.
So where is the solution in this, right? Because I know that's what we're gearing to. The solution is complicated, but
Yes,
one
it
that's
is.
but one piece that's coming to mind in this conversation, right, is we have to, wherever we are, we have to start building, even if it's just on the most basic of levels, some sense of self-worth and self-identity, independent of that validation that we're receiving, whether it's from a partner or from society or from others or from church or from whatever. Right?
I
We
like
have
how
to
you
start
just said that.
cultivating that.
Independent sense of worth.
Yes.
That's huge.
Because we've always put it in what? The acceptance of other. In other words, we have to start finding out how to practice self-love,
Yes.
not in a denial way, and for the love of God, definitely not in an acting out way.
Yes.
But we have to, and I don't say that tongue in cheek or sarcastically. Many of us were trying to self-soothe or self-nurture through sex with self or other forms of acting out.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a very real thing. We have to start becoming acquainted with. And again, however rudimentary we have to begin, we have to start that process of embracing the self. Hey, everybody. It's your PBSC podcast co-host here, Mark and Steve, with a special message to all of you about our revolutionary recovery program for addicts, spouses, and couples, Dare to Connect. Nearly every day, we receive messages from subscribers in the program, couples who are just like you, trying to heal from the devastating effects of sex addiction, pornography addiction, and betrayal trauma. Recently, we actually received an amazing feedback message of hope from a current D2C subscriber, and we wanted to just share it with you quickly. She says, "This is a partner. I am grateful that while you fully address this addiction as a disease and that it takes over the addict's life, you both also fully address the impact their behaviors and their betrayals have had on the partner. Your words and teachings on partner betrayal trauma opened my husband's eyes to his responsibilities and role in helping me heal. He has stepped fully into the gap to lead this process, and we are making such progress. I originally started D2C by myself as my addict partner was not interested in anything I had to say about recovery. He was working recovery through another program, but his work was off limits to me. I had listened to so many of your PBSC podcasts, and I realized that I needed more than I was getting through my own support group. So I signed up for the Dare to Connect 2-week trial."
And then she continues. She says, "One night, my husband looked over my shoulder and asked what I was doing. I shared Dare to Connect with him. He tried it, and he's been fully engaged ever since. Steve and Mark's knowledge and experience speak to him, and he has implemented so many of the things that have been suggested. Thank you for your straight, hard-hitting approach. Keep it up. Our marriage has deepened tremendously, and we are stronger than we've ever been, even while working through the mess that this addiction has made. We're happy, loyal, and incredibly grateful D2Cers." We absolutely love these success stories. It's the reason why we do everything that we do in D2C, to help all of you find lasting recovery and healing. So come on over and join us in the D2C program. You can do it with a free 2-week trial And you find that at daretoconnectnow.com. Embracing the whole self, the good, the bad,
Yes.
the ugly, the in between. I love the words I heard years ago. Mark, I'm inviting you to get to the place where from your heart you can say, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. With everything that I am, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right? Honesty has to start there. And that sounds weird. Well, you guys, what? Telling the truth is about me developing a deep sense of worth? What does that have to do with me telling the truth? Because you'll never feel safe enough to tell the truth until you become secure in your own skin.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Can't show you me because you won't accept me. So I got to be something else. Well, then I better work on accepting me first.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's one part of it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the beginning piece, right? I mean, because I think every addict listening to this, that is the starting point, right? And that's going to look different for every single person here. Some of you may be already far along in that journey, right? But it's that progressive embracement. And I mean, doing that is so hard. And again, we know from the addict perspective why that's hard. I mean, one, it's hard to have any of that kind of faith or self-love because it's so foreign to most of us. But the other obstacle that we face is that we historically in this area have operated in 100% black and white extremes. And what I
Yes.
mean by that is we have never, or rarely, if ever, maybe is a better way to put it, have we ever centered on anything resulting in what we would call healthy accountability, that middle ground. It's always been that place of shame and I am the issue, I am the problem, I am hopeless, she's better off without me, everyone's better off without me. Or what? The other side, you have the problem. Everyone's an idiot. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. You can all go to hell. Like, right?
Yeah.
We live in those worlds and we bounce back and forth between them as a survival mechanism, depending on what our circumstances are, and trying to find that healthy place where we can actually embrace the self, which isn't living in denial and being consumed with it as a defense, nor are we victimized by drowning in shame. It's a
Right.
place that accepts, honors, and recognizes, here are my strengths, here are my deficits. And those are all part of the unique, crazy, wild, definitely one of a kind person that is Steve,
Yeah.
right? Or Mark,
Yeah.
or Bob, or whoever.
Yeah. Well, and probably a lot of people listening about, well, how do I become an honest at all costs person? And you're not hearing your typical responses. Another one, because remember, the lying is a symptom, surface
Yes,
symptom of deep issues.
it is. Yep, you're
Another
not going
area,
to shame yourself into this way. You're not going to attack yourself into this way. For those of us, and Mark and I are,
oh,
I say
right,
this,
right.
yeah, we say it respectfully because we're spiritual guys too. You're not going to Jesus talk your way into this. Like this is, at least that's been our experience.
Well, yeah,
This,
I
right?
used to try this. I'd come away having lied again, right? And so here's how I'm going to solve it. You idiot.
Oh
You're
yeah.
such a damn liar, you piece of crap. If you lie one more time, I'm going to kill myself, right? I mean, I would just get so extreme
Yeah.
and figure that force and punching myself in the face. I think I hit myself in the face a few times
Yeah.
at some point along the way because I had not been honest again. And I thought that force and self brutality was the way to come out of that, and it never worked. It
No.
just made it worse. I just went deeper. And so this developing a sense of self, a sense of worth independent of what others think or don't. I also found that engaging in really good, consistent daily self-care was super important to me, having enough confidence to be honest. So doing journaling where I would be introspective in my journaling, writing out my thinking, writing out my negative self-talk, having a relationship with a higher power, whatever that means to anyone listening, right? I needed to have someone or something outside of myself to give me a sense of worth that didn't have to come from just me or others. I needed a higher source to say, Mark, you're somebody because you are. You have worth because you exist. I love you unconditionally. You're a universe of love that said, I accept you, and you're just fine, just as you are. I needed that to come from another source, but me and other people. So this self-care, engaging in hobbies that were fulfilling, engaging in things where I could look at it and say, wow, I just achieved that. I feel good about that. All of these things are part of this process of being an honest person, but you wouldn't think of these things attached to honesty.
No.
But they are.
Yeah. No,
You know?
absolutely. Completely agree with that. Well, we know that that's a lot to throw in there. I mean, I know we've kind of just scratched the surface on this subject, Mark, because I know there's obviously a lot more to this.
Well, and I wanted to say one other thing
Yeah,
about
please.
the practicalities of this. I'll tell you what I also had to come to a place where I just simply made a decision. When Steve and I talk about honesty at all costs, we're not exaggerating. Being honest could cost you your marriage. Being honest could cost you your job. Being honest could cost you, fill in the blanks. You can't get there in one giant step because you decide to be honest at all costs.
No.
So what did I have to do? I took up opportunities to be honest at small costs. Little situations where I would normally tell a little white lie or withhold just a little bit of the truth, or where the consequences weren't huge, but it was just out of habit. And so I would try to be mindful enough to be in those moments. And when I would get the inkling to not be totally honest, I would make a mindful decision and I would just tell the truth when the cost wasn't huge. And so I started doing that in my everyday life with, quote, little stuff. If I'd be on a phone call with somebody, maybe it's a business call, and I withheld a little bit of information, which isn't really lying, but I withheld just a little bit of information because it made me look a little better, or I had a better chance of getting the deal. When I would hang up and I would reflect on that call and I would realize I had done it, I'd pick up my phone and I would speed dial that person back and I would tell them what had just happened. Hey, I just needed to call you back. I'm working in my life to be completely honest in everything I do. I withheld a little bit of information in that conversation because I thought maybe it would give me a little bit of advantage. And I don't want to do that. So here's the information that I should have been forthright with. And I would own it. Did that hurt? Was that embarrassing? Was that scary? Was that terrorizing? It was.
Yeah.
But here's what happened to my survival brain. It started, that part of the brain, by the way, can learn. And when the survival brain would say, okay, Mark, you need to lie right now because of, da 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 da. And it would say, crap, if we lie, he's just going to call him back and tell the truth. And that's going to be doubly embarrassing. Okay, let's just tell the truth.
So what you're talking about, right, it's a reduction in the fear, right?
Yeah, the fear would reduce every time I would do it. Rarely did they say, screw you, we're not ever doing business with you again. Or it rarely turned out as horrible as my brain told me it would. And I learned over time, honesty really can be the best policy, which was different than when I was a kid. I learned that it wasn't.
Yes.
You get the crap beat out of you. But now in my adult life, well, you know what? This usually works out. And now my brain's going, I kind of like this. I like this honesty thing. Then what happened after practicing that, trying to do it daily, time after time, then I started to graduate to the bigger issues to tell the truth on. But I couldn't get there all at once. It was just too scary. I hope somebody listening could. You know what? I'm going to tell a big truth today. The hell with the consequences. I hope you can do that.
Oh my gosh.
I found that like nearly impossible. So I had to get there step by step.
Well, and the only other thing that I would add to that, because I agree with you, I think that's a great approach. And this is where our stories are so similar, but then there's a little bit of a difference too, which I think adds to the richness of the solutions piece. We talked earlier about how flogging yourself more won't help.
No.
And I completely am a proponent of that because I agree with that wholeheartedly. What helped me to get to this place was some of what you're describing, but the other part, I think even before that, what it really took for me was it wasn't a flogging myself with additional consequences or heaping on more shame or whatever. It was coming to a stark realization of the consequences that were really truly already happening.
Mm.
That's what helped me to start. The more I started to open myself up, even just a little bit, to people that I trusted. And this, I'll be honest, this started in 12-step groups because I didn't really trust anybody. So I could only trust people that like had no skin in the game.
Right.
But when I started listening to other men share their stories and talk about what was going on with them, and I started to see parallels, and they would share what they had lost a little bit more down the road and those kinds of things, that is what helped to galvanize what was already within me, which was this desire to do it differently. But it helped to push me to that point where the scale started to tip in terms of I went from a place of, I know I need to do this, but it's too scary to try, to a place of where I am is killing me. It's killing me slowly, but it's killing me. I'm losing myself at a piece at a time. And I'm dragging my wife down with me in the most drawn out, exacerbated, painful, excruciating way possible. And I either need to cut this thing off and do something dramatically different in terms of mitigate the damage to Brittany or whatever. That's my wife, for those who don't know. Or if I really look at it, is this path really the one that I want to continue to be on? Because as I started to examine and see the cost and the real pain points for what they were, again, not heaping on shame-based ones, but just recognizing the significance of the reality that I was in, that is what helped me to drive me to that place of this other. To use a biblical analogy, it helped me to see Sodom as on fire as it really was.
Mm.
That's what it helped me to see. Does that make sense? It
Yeah.
helped me to see just how bad things were and that I could no longer exist here. I have to go. I don't want to. I don't even want to go, but I can't stay here.
Yeah.
And so I've got to go somewhere. As the man in the movie Saving Private Ryan says to Captain Miller on the beach, what's the rally point? And he looks at him. He just says the greatest line ever. He just says, anywhere but here, anywhere but sitting on this beach getting gunned down.
Yeah. Can you get to the place as an addict where you say, I've been using this lying strategy to, quote, keep myself safe my whole life and
Yes.
keep things from really going bad. They're going bad.
Yeah.
And to continue to use this as the strategy to keep things safe and balanced and going is ridiculous because I'm blowing it all to crap.
And it's not possible. It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
I see where this is trending. I'm seeing the writing on the wall. I am not on a pretty schooner that's like kind of sort of struggling, but getting along great. I am on the GD Titanic, and like 3 of the 4 boiler rooms have flooded. And the band has stopped playing. They've packed up. Like, this thing is going down.
Well,
I have to do something different.
And
right?
it can be hard to come to that realization.
It does. It's incredibly hard.
There were decades that a part of my brain said, nope, Mark, you can keep lying and you can have your cake and eat it too. You can.
Yep.
It took a long time for me to get willing enough to see the reality of the whole thing because I thought I could do both. I thought I could.
I did too. I did too.
And have my trusting marriage.
Yep. And that's where you start, and that's again where that openness comes in, right? Is you start to see the stop signs for what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, we were just kind of like a 6-year-old with their foot on the gas pedal with a can of Mountain Dew in each hand, just like flying down the street. And at some point you start saying, oh, those red signs aren't like saying congratulations, how fast can you go? They're saying like, please, for the love of all that's holy, do something different. Right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, those are just some thoughts to think about, guys. So,
yeah.
Well, everybody, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you being in the podcast, and it's a new year if you're listening to this when this podcast iterates. If you like what you hear here, if you like the straight talk, if you like the motivation coupled with the humor, coupled with the realness, coupled with the skills, coupled with the knowledge, both based on clinical experience as well as being every addict who's listening to this and having partners who've been every partner who's listening. you will love Dare to Connect. May we suggest that you come and check us out. And there's no better time to do that than right now. Dare to Connect right now, we are having a special promotion here at the beginning of the year, with it being a new year. We want to help people capitalize on that. We want them to be able to take the most of this. So in addition to the usual 2-week free trial that you can get if you go to daretoconnectnow.com to try the program risk-free, see what it's like, cancel. It's fine if it's not for you. We wouldn't want you to stay, frankly, if you don't find it's for you. But in addition to that, you can also get $150 off, which is over half off the cost of your monthly subscription for the first month.
Yeah, so you essentially get being like 6 weeks of our program for $145.
That's exactly what it ends up being, which for you and your partner, which you hear us talk about the benefits of this program all the time. I hate to sound like one of those cliche salesmen, but at that point, we're just giving it away. So, but we just want you to come try it. And when we know what it's like, honestly speaking, to hit it. Mark and I have had so many New Year failed starts.
Gosh,
we want it to be a successful one for you.
Yeah.
So come check it out. There is not a better time. This is the best promotion that we offer all year. It's very simple. If you go to daretoconnectnow.com, all you do is you just go to the pricing plan page or the sign up page, and there will be there's a promo code option when you click sign up. All you got to do when you go to that promo page is you just go to the like I said, the promotional code, and you go over and you enter in the following with all caps, no spaces, D2C 4, so like the number 4, the holidays 2024. Okay, so D2C, that's a D and a 2. I should have done a different coupon code, guys. Sorry, I'm the one who established it, and it's confusing as hell. D, the number 2, C, the number 4, THEHOLIDAYS 2024. Okay, all caps, no space. Yeah. We'd love to have you come join us, see what all the excitement's about, and have you come join us in the D2C family with all of the new features we've got rolling out, with a new interactive forum being one of them here in the coming weeks. So lots of cool things that are going to be happening where you can interact and engage with others outside of sessions together. We got some really cool features that we're adding here in 2025. So anyway, you can find that all at daretoconnectnow.com. And as always, you're welcome to always submit questions to the podcast. We've been here now for, is it 5 years? Did we decide? 5 years? No, 5 years. Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years and counting. As we roll into our 6th year, I cannot believe we're starting our 6th year. Amazing. As we roll into our 6th year, we'll continue to roll out podcasts to you on a first come, first served basis. You're always welcome to send those questions to us and get our non-interactive, not as cool responses at if you go to the same website, daretoconnectnow.com or pbscpodcast.com. Just at the bottom of that PBSC podcast page, there's a contact form. You can send those into us.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks for being with us. Appreciate all of you across the planet.
Yep.
And we will look to pick things up in our next episode with all of you.
Awesome. Have a great one, guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Everything expressed on the PBSC podcast are the opinions of the hosts and the participants and is for informational and educational purposes only. This podcast should not be considered mental health therapy or as a substitute thereof. It is strongly recommended that you seek out the clinical guidance of an individual qualified mental health professional. If you're experiencing thoughts of suicide, self-harm, or a desire to harm others, please dial 911 or go to your nearest emergency room.